Welcome back, and today I'm going to make peach cobbler. My neighbor brought me over some peaches. She said they're not freestone, so I'm going to have to do them a little bit different than I normally do when I'm doing freestone ones, but I have more than we can possibly eat, so why not make cobbler? So I'm going to get started by going ahead and washing up the peaches. Always like to rinse them off. You never know if, a bug or a bird did something on them. So I'm just going to rinse them off and then just put them in my colander. And then kind of inspecting them. I know I'm going to have to cut some stuff away. Some of them got very ripe. So I'm going to continue to do this, and I'll meet you at the cutting board. This particular recipe, I need to have a heaping 4 cups of peaches. So we will see if there's enough. If I don't have enough, then I'll cut the recipe in half. So we'll just see how it goes. Sometimes you never know because you have to take, the seed out, and maybe there's some imperfections. So I'm just going to start as if it was freestone and just see kind of how I get here. See, it definitely cannot go ahead and open it up. So if somebody tells you it's not freestone, that's why. And if you're just eating it regular, it's fine. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to kind of slice pieces off of the seed here. Just keep on slicing. And it's all going to get baked up. So it's not like we're trying to, it is going to be a cobbler. It's not going to be a pie. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of just shave it off with the knife without getting the seed in there, because we don't want to do that. Okay, and then the pieces that are too big, I will just kind of slice them. And these are very ripe, so it's a good thing I'm doing this today. And I'll just do one more just to give you an idea, and then we will go on to the next thing. Okay, so there's a little bit of bruisedness. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm just going to, now I know for sure it's not going to be easy, so I'm just going to shave it off of that seed. It's pretty much going to give me the size pieces I need. And it's coming off, it's almost like you can almost just go like this and just... But like I said, it's going to be a cobbler. So a lot of times with peach pie, you want to have those nice slices in there. But with cobbler, it just all gets, put down and kind of mushed anyway once it ends up being cooked up. So I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to continue doing, I'll show you how much I have. And then, so I have like that much. So let's see how much that makes. Hopefully it's enough for a nice peach cobbler. Okay, so sometimes when I am making a video, I actually learn something while making the video, and I want to share with you what I'm learning here. So I'm going to, as I was showing you before, I was cutting these off of the seed, or some people might call it the stone or the pit of the peach. Now when it's freestone, just so everybody knows, when you would cut it, it would just come loose of the pit really easy. But this way it does not. So I'm having to cut it off, and I'm doing this and I'm doing this as much as possible. But what I did discover here, I'm going to show you over the top of this. So if I go ahead and I just take it in my hands and I squeeze it, I can get a whole bunch of the pulp off. And because it's cobbler, as I said before, I'm not too worried about it looking pretty, because it's going to just be laying in the pan covered with batter, and it's going to be delicious. So there's a tip that I just discovered today. I'm very happy because I have just the right amount to do the peach cobbler, and I don't need to cut the recipe in half, so that's great. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these peaches into the saucepan. And now normally, if the peaches were not as ripe as they were, I might cook this for a little bit longer. I'm going to take this over to the stovetop and cook it a little. But first I'm going to add some sugar, some white sugar. And I can tell that just by going ahead and smelling these peaches, they are pretty sweet. So I'm just going to do maybe just a couple tablespoons of sugar. I'm not going to go crazy. And then I'm going to go ahead and add just a tad of water, but not too much. Just a little bit, because they are awfully juicy. And we'll take this over to the stove top. Just stir this around a little. And I'll let this heat up a little bit. And while this is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375, and we'll be back in just a few to check on this. The baking dish that I have is a 10 by 15, and the first step is to go ahead and melt 2 sticks of butter, which is 1 cup of butter. So this is a half a cup, it says right there, and a half a cup. So that's 2 sticks, and I'm going to go ahead and melt them in here in the microwave oven, and I'll be back. Okay, so this is simmering a little. It's starting to steam and simmering a little, and it looks like we almost got like some nice juice going with the sugar, and it's well blended. So I'm going to go ahead, since these peaches are so ripe, I'm going to pull them right now. I'm going to take them over to the counter, and we'll start building the cobbler. Okay, so I have my melted butter, and I'm just going to pour that in my 10 by 15 baking pan. And then I'm going to start adding my peaches. I got a big spoon here, and you just try to go ahead and make it even along the bottom. Hope everybody's having a good day today. It's one of my favorite types of cobblers to make in the summer. There's always fresh peaches available, especially when your neighbor comes and brings you a nice bag of peaches that are totally organic, which is great. All right, I was just very lucky that this ended up being the perfect fit. We did eat a couple of the peaches. Making sure we get all the peaches. I might leave some of the juices behind because we seem to have plenty of juice. I just have like a tad. I'll probably just put it over here. All right, so now we're going to start with the batter. We need 2 cups of sugar. When measuring out sugar, you're going to want to level it off. Get better scoops, I can level it off. So 1, 2, and then 2 cups of flour. And when measuring flour, I also have to level it off. I'm getting a little low on my flour, so I'm going to have to kind of tip that a little. 1, 2, and now we need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And make sure it is actually baking powder and not baking soda, because it will come out different if you use the wrong thing. Okay, now when doing baking powder, you're going to level it off also, and I always use the lid. So, and I need 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now our next ingredient is 1.5 cups of milk, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and take a fork. If I'm grabbing a spoon, okay. I'm going to take a fork, and I'm just going to mix up these dry ingredients a little with my fork. And I'm using my measuring cup from the butter, but I did rinse it out. So if you think it looks a little dirty, it's just residue from the butter, but it's all going to the same dish. So I'm not too concerned about having it sparkling clean. I will clean it afterward. Okay, so 1.5 cups of milk. Now when measuring liquid ingredients, you have to come down level with the measure so that it's, you pour it until you can it's level with the measurement. So that is 1.5 cups of milk. So we have our butter, which is with the fruit. We have our 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1.5 cups of milk. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to partially stir it before I take it over to the mixer. Try to kind of scrape the sides ahead of time on this particular one. And I'm going to take it over to the mixer. I'm going to grab a rubber spatula so I can make sure all the sides are nice and I have my regular mixer attachment here. I do not have a whisk and I do not have a dough hook because it's not necessary. And I'm going to put on my splatter screen and we'll mix this up. Okay, now I'm going to take my rubber spatula and scrape the sides. If you don't have one of these and you intend on doing a lot of baking, they come in very handy to scrape the sides. Now, if you did not have a mixer and you wanted to do this by hand, you could, and it still would come out. Now, the advantage of the mixer, besides which you're not using all the physical all your muscles to whip it up, and I don't know how long it would take to make it this smooth, but it is going to be smoother with the mixer, and also the mixer helps whip air into the batter to make it more of a light and fluffy texture. So I'm going to just mix this up a little bit more. And I'd be about ready. Ready to put onto the cobbler. I'm going to bring the cobbler over here so it'll be more convenient, and we'll pour it on. Time to pour the batter onto the peaches and the butter. And to me, this is the hardest part because you have to really make sure that you do it evenly. So I'm just going to kind of use gravity, and we want to make sure that we get the batter everywhere. And I'm going to have to use that rubber spatula and start scraping because a lot of it is stuck to the sides. I suppose if they made a bowl that had a little lip on it for pouring, it would probably come in very handy. Sometimes I just have to use the spatula to kind of disperse the batter in the spots that it's not. And it usually always just works out just fine, even though I tend to panic about it. So if you find, oh, I poured this out, now it looks like there's some spots that didn't get, you can just put some batter there, scrape your bowl. Continue to do this. Okay. So when it starts cooking, it's just going to automatically just spread out. It always does. Okay, so I got some brown sugar, and I'm just going to kind of make sure I don't have any big clumps. And I'm going to just put kind of a little bit. I don't want to go crazy with the brown sugar, but I do want to make sure all the spots have it. It creates a nice browning. Now, if you do not have brown sugar, and you have all the other ingredients, you forgot to get brown sugar. If you happen to have maple syrup in the house, we've done it before where we just took some maple syrup and put a little bit of maple syrup on top, and that also tastes really good. This is my favorite way, though, with the brown sugar. And even if you have like a big clump like that one, it just gives it a different texture. Okay, so as I said, I put the oven on 375, and it's about 40 minutes. I'm going to check it at 20 minutes, because it seems like every time I do this, depending on what type of fruit I use, depending on how ripe it is, depending on the temperature in the house and everything, it's always a little bit different. So I'm going to just check it in about 20 minutes and we'll see how it's doing. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the oven and I'll check back with you in just a minute. I'm checking on the cobbler. It's been about 20 minutes. I'm going to just pull it out just so you can see it. Normally I would not pull it out. I can tell that it still needs to go a little bit longer, but I'm just going to pull it out just so you can see. And it's not quite done yet, but it smells just wonderful. I cannot wait to taste this. Okay, we'll check on it in just a little bit. It's time to pull the cobbler and let it cool off, and then time for the taste test. Okay, time for the taste test. Can't wait to try this. This piece is hot or warm. That's why when I cut it, it's kind of falling apart a little, but it doesn't make a difference. Very, very good. You taste the butter. Very important to use real butter. And the peaches are absolutely delicious because they were fresh peaches straight from the tree and just picked the other day. Thank you to my neighbor. And the batter is light and fluffy because I really whipped a lot of air into it. And then the brown sugar really gives it a nice, wonderful, delectable taste and a little bit of crunchiness, which is really nice. I hope you enjoyed this video. I consider this an easy recipe to do. Hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for those of you who subscribe to my channel. And if you don't, it is free. And please like the video. And thank you for watching.